अडे डे 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 क्या है भया ये इतने बड़े बड़े डब्बे। तो मेरा प्लान क्या है बोलो तो इसके ऊपर डोसे का सेटअप रहेगा, यहाँ पे पूरे चटनी और सांभर रहेंगे और उधर इडली और वड़ा रहेगा। क्या बोलते हैं? खैर, तो hello YouTube, how you all doing? And today we'll be reviewing the Benelli TRK 502 on my channel. Anyways, how are you all? Very sorry, not many uploads. So let's just begin with the story of this bike. So when the bike was launched a few months back, I saw it. I was very happy. This is the first bike to come out since महावीर took over Benelli completely. तो महावीर हमारे हैदराबाद से है, महावीर मोटर्स. So there's a plant coming up for Benelli in Mitchell, and the bikes are going to be assembled here, and it's going to be crazy. So anyways, I even bought my Skoda Super from the Mahavir dealership. That's there. And apart from that, anyways, let's not talk about the bike. So this bike, I was supposed to be riding this when I went to Ratnagiri to pick up the GSX S1000. I was supposed to, on the way back in Pune, pick this bike up and, you know, just go chill around anywhere and then come back on it. But that never happened because our schedule tight हो गया, सब हो गया था. So when this bike arrived in Hyderabad, तो Benelli India was courteous enough to give me the first call and tell me कि भाई बाइक आ गई, आप ले लेके जाओ, कुछ प्लान करो. But and again, you guys knowing my schedule, the schedule was a bit tight, so I had planned to go to Gulbarga on it, but that didn't happen because of some timing issues and all that. And finally, the day has come to actually go and drop the bike off. So now is when I'm shooting the review. I've been riding this since almost 4 or 5 days now. We did a couple of photo shoots. I did a little bit of an off-roading run. I did a small highway run till the airport. And anyways, let's start talking about the bike, what I like, what I don't like, and why you should or should not buy one. So, starting with the name, TRK502. Now, somehow they've named it very nicely, and considering that it's the first product coming out of Benelli India stable after their merger with Mahavir, एकदम crazy product निकाले वाला adventure tourer. People are nowadays slowly getting to know what adventure tourers are. नहीं तो पहले क्या था, खाली sports, naked, cruiser ये तीन ही मालूम थे. This category of bikes was relatively new and, you know, not many options, और जो भी थोड़े बहुत थे, they were priced off the charts, यानी किडनी बेच के लेना पड़ता था. Anyways, let's start off with the bike. The TRK name is something I really like it kind of sounds like Trek, you know, Trek 502, you know, sounds very sweet. And coming on to the bike itself, now let's start, actually where do we start? Let's start with the engine. So it's a 500cc unit, newly developed, entirely new, and it's a twin unit, parallel twin with that different firing order, so it sounds kind of like the Benelli 300 and the other, you know. And what surprises me, one thing about the engine, apart from the why they would put a small engine in such a big chassis, apart from the fact that why they would put such a small engine in such a big bike, is that the engine is surprisingly very rev happy. I mean, if you just look at the rev counter, the revs climb really fast. I mean, it's kind of inline 4 V4 के जैसा rev हो रहा है. This is the first time I've seen that in a parallel twin engine. That's crazy. And the fueling is also really nice, but I don't know if it's a problem with this bike or what, but the fueling at lower RPMs is slightly jerky. That's what I felt. But the engine, it develops close to 47 horsepower, which is not much considering the fact that this is a 210 kilos bike approximately. You sit high on it, it's huge. It's huge, yeah, it's huge. Especially with those saddlebags attached behind it, looks like a lorry jari road pe bolna. I mean, Multistrada भी बच्चा दिखना. The engine could have been slightly more powerful. Yes, it does feel underpowered sometimes, like when you want to overtake someone on the highway or something like that. It's stocky. It does pick up smoothly. There's no aggressiveness, there's no punch, there's no thrust from the engine. It's very smooth and refined and nicely done. Yeah, vibrations surprisingly are not much, considering that the whole body itself is, you know, plastic, but still they've managed to keep the vibrations pretty low. I especially like the 12-volt socket here. So anyways, coming on to the chassis, it's a double steel trellis chassis. It's a bit advanced science, but yes, it is supposed to be lighter and a very modern kind of a chassis, but still the bike is not lightweight, it is heavy. But there are other adventure tourers which are heavier than this but feel lighter, and I think the trick is in mass centralization and the way the weight is placed. Coming on to the handling characteristics of the bike, I mean, this thing feels very planted, very stable on the road. I mean, 120 is its sweet spot for cruising. On the highway, it feels really nice. The wind blast is kept to a minimum, all thanks to the big ass visor over here, and this metal thing, especially coming in here, gives it a very raw and, you know, crazy muscular look. Apart from that, yes, it does handle very nicely. It's very nimble. If you're sitting on it in traffic, it's very manageable. You can go flick it around. But with the saddlebags on, which are an aftermarket accessory, of course, it's kind of humongous. Even without those, you have these crash guards, which are pretty huge. So you have to be very careful. कभी जाने अनजाने में एक आध को डिच्चा मार दिया बोले तो बैगन लग जाते. So just be wary of that. Apart from that, I just love the way the bike handles. I mean, it's an adventure tourer, but it picks up quite well. The power is there in the mid-range and in the top end, surprisingly. It does feel peppy, but you know, because of the weight, if this engine was in, say, a Street Fighter bike, it would be a fucking hoot to ride. It would be crazy. But putting this engine in this bike has just, you know, the bike is heavy. The power to weight ratio is just off the top. I mean, it's a good engine, but just feel like it doesn't belong in this bike. You know what I'm saying? It does make it feel very underpowered looking at the rev happy engine and all. But a good thing is the mileage. I mean, I don't know what exactly this bike is giving, but trust me, the mileage is crazy. Minimum 25 in city, it's what I'm feeling, because there's hardly any time I filled up. It's giving a really good mileage. एक बार tank full करा के वो खत्म हो रही नहीं. It's got a 20-liter tank, which is a superb thing. ABS है. ABS hai, thank God. All you forum big mouth bikers, there is ABS in this bike. So yeah, apart from that, there's not really much equipment. You don't have any kind of electronics or rider modes or, you know, anything as such. Traction control was a traction control की तो ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. But you do have a 5-volt 2-ampere power socket right here. It's a direct USB, so you don't have to fiddle around with the power sockets and all like in the Triumphs and in the BMWs. So that's a very sweet addition. Apart from that, the saddlebag mounting points, they're really nice. Everything on the bike does feel well built. It doesn't feel cheap or anything as such. The forks, the suspension travel, everything. I mean, handling wise, it's really good. But yes, what I do not like about the handling. So as long as you're sitting on the bike and the roads are good, it's very nice. It's a very planted, stable bike, and you'll feel like munching miles. जितने बोले उतना दूर चले आना दिल बोलता. Problem arises when you stand up on the bike. Now it's got wide foot pegs and big, you know, off-roading style levers and all there on your foot. So you wear touring boots and you stand up on the bike when you go off-roading. So this is not the proper off-road version. There is also a version called the TRK 502X. That is a proper off-road version with the, you know, spoke wheels and off-road tires. This comes with the regular alloy wheels and tubeless tires. 160, 120. 160 could have been a bit wider, but I think that would have made the bike even more sluggish. क्या होता, पूरी गाड़ी बड़ी दिख के पीछे से टायर एकदम बहुत ही छोटा दिखता. Front is still manageable, but the rear tire looks very tiny. We'll come to the looks later. Anyways, so when you stand up on the bike, when you're off-roading, you're supposed to hold the tank with your thighs and maneuver the bike around, hold the handle slightly. It just doesn't involve you as much. The suspension, it feels hard. I mean, it is soft at the rear end and weird at the front end, so it kind of robs the fun feel of off-roading. I myself personally felt unsafe at one or two points, because I've ridden a Multistrada, I've ridden a GS. On those bikes you just stand up, they are heavier, but the weight is managed so nicely that you do not feel that you're riding such a heavy bike. Now comparing this to those big bikes would be too much, but yeah, even the Tiger 800 for that fact, once you stand on it, the bike becomes very maneuverable. But it's not the case with this bike. The previous iteration of this bike, the Bentley 600 GT, was a hilarious bike to start with. I mean, putting an R6 engine in an adventure tourer and making it heavy and funny, and that bike was really funny and hilarious, I'll tell you that. But the only thing you could have a good laugh on was with an exhaust. I mean, you're on a tourer which is super heavy and you're going like वो एक था fun factor वो गाड़ी में. With this, yes, they've tried to up the game, and they have a lot actually. It's a very comfortable bike to ride, the ergonomics, the seating, everything, but they could have done slightly better in the handling department. Engine से भी चलो मेरी कोई complaint नहीं है, because we'll come to that later, because of the price factor. And थोड़ा और power और थोड़ा handling, the weight could have been managed better, because when you stand up on the bike, when you're trying to do some off-roading moves or anything as such, the bike just doesn't inspire that confidence. So yes, it is a very good urban tourer. It's a very good tourer in general. पूरे गलियां मार ले अपन. ऑटो चिचा उनका डिचा. But yes, it's not exactly an enduro or adventure tourer. Off-roading on this will be a bit painful because of the humongous size and the weird suspension and the heavy, unmaneuverable ergonomics. When you're sitting, it's very fine, but as I said, thehre agar, maneuvering becomes a pain. Now coming on to the looks. The looks. So every, bike has this one ace card up its sleeve. And I think for this bike it's going to be the looks. I mean, looks are subjective, but boy oh boy, this bike looks beautiful. It oozes Italian oomph out of it. The headlight design, the shape, the beak in the front, the big visor with this huge metal cage inside, and even the instrument cluster for that fact. It's very informative. But yes, everything on this bike looks so nice, even from the rear end. A lot of people mistook it for a Ducati, let me tell you. But yes, it looks very nice, and not just nice, the bike is huge. Honda Civic, kya pyara dikh rahe bhai tum. So many new launches, man. So not just good looking, this bike is also huge. I mean, when I say huge, I mean it has road presence. I mean, people are going to notice you, people are going to stare at you. It is huge. Now coming on to its direct competition, the Versys 650. Tiger 800 थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही हो जाता, but yeah, the Versys 650. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Kawasaki Evers. I am glad I sold my ER6N, because Kawasaki has been on a very funny spree. They've been increasing the prices of their products like crazy, and the products are getting shittier by the day. I mean, you look at the new Z650, it's just horrible replacement for the old ER6N. Anyways, the Versys 650 offers more power and all, and it's more powerful, it's more fun to ride, but at the same time its engine is very characterless. I mean, characterless is sunny, but this engine, even though it's underpowered, you do feel fun every time you try to redline it, because it's a very rev happy and very sweet sounding engine, and it does give you a good torque curve to play with. But the Versys being all the more expensive and all that, it doesn't have the road presence this thing has. This thing just looks sweet on the road. I mean, you're coming up on this bike in photos, everything. So this is a bike which looks great. Looks, according to me, I think the most important thing, if I had to rate this bike, looks would be like 100 out of 100, man. I mean, the looks, they've done a crazy job with the looks. So anyways, now coming on to the verdict of the bike. Would I buy one? Would I want you to buy one? I would probably not buy one because not my taste. But yes, for anyone who's looking for their first time adventure tourer, it's a really good bike. It's a good bike. I mean, coming on to the big elephant in the room now, why do I say it's a good bike even though it has its problems? The price. Now you see the Versys 650 starts at close to 660 ex showroom. This thing is 5 lakhs ex showroom. That's a whole 1,60,000 less. And in the Versys, what do you get? Slightly more power, an engine which is no fun to ride, but and looks which are not so great. It doesn't have that kind of road presence which this thing has. तो टाइगर वाइगर तो एनीवेज हर चीज़ एक अलग लीग में हो गई. तो कमिंग ऑन टू दिस बाइक, yes, it's a sweet bike for the price which they've launched it. I feel it's an extremely nice package because वो price range में फिर आपके पास कोई दूसरा option नहीं है. The next thing you're gonna get is the Versys X300, which, bro, seriously, you're gonna spend 4 lakhs on a 300cc. 4 भी नहीं, I think it's a lot more than 4 on a 300cc engine which sounds weird, and you know, it's just not happening. This thing, even though it is underpowered, but the engine is rev happy, it has that character, and sometimes you will have fun on this one. Not to mention how stable, planted and rock solid this feels on the road, on the highway. Yes, off-roading could have been a bit better. You can get the 502X paying a little bit more for that one, but I still suggest going for this one because off-roading का version लेके भी फायदा नहीं है, because you're just getting different tires and a couple of tweaks to the suspension. That's not going to magically make the bike lighter or, you know, flick around further. This is not a bike you use for off-roading. But yes, you can use it on the highway as much as you want. 20 लीटर की टैंक है, ज़बरदस्त माइलेज है, लुक्स है, और क्या होना. So I feel this product does have a lot of potential. Yes, the Bentley brand name might not tick with a lot of people, but I guess only time will tell. So anyways, we'll just wait it out. This was just a short initial review kind of thing, and we'll probably have the bike once it's all done. I'm planning something long and nice on this bike. Matlab long and nice, matlab something long and crazy. I mean, a ride or something like that, a cross country tour or something like that. We're in talks with Bentley. I'm in talks with Benelli, and वैसा कुछ रहेगा तो it will be a lot more fun. Yes, there was some timing issue yesterday and day before, for which my Gulbarga ride got postponed and a lot of things got postponed. Otherwise, they're planning to put her through the paces, actual off-roading mein, and a little bit on a runway. And yes, you heard it right, a runway. So let's wait it out. So yes, thank you for watching. Ciao and bye-bye. Listen.